Hello guys, today I will be showing you how to replace the crank seal slash do your KDP on a 1990 5.9 liter turbo Cummins diesel. This is non-air-cooled, but it is AC. I will not be removing the radiator, and I may not have to remove this. I did this once, but I messed up the seal, so I have to replace the seal. I did the KDP. So, the first thing you want to do is get your fan and fan shroud out. What you'll need is a 7/16 deep socket and a 36mm wrench to remove your fan and fan shroud. The way I get the fan off is I put this on the nut, this around it, and then the cheater bar on the wrench, and it is reverse thread. So I just smack the cheater bar with a hammer, and it pops right off. Remember, it is reverse thread. Alright, this is how I got it on the fan. At the pipe wrench on that larger ring right there, and the 36mm wrench right there on that bolt. You may be able to see that. So now I'll just hold the pipe wrench with one hand and smack this end with a hammer, and it'll pop right off. Just like this. And now it is loose. Now, as you can see, this fan moves freely from this hub, and I am able to remove it. Next, I will remove this. So the next step is to remove the fan shroud. There's 4 7/16 bolts right here, down there, right here, and down there. I use a 3-inch extension, and I have a Milwaukee electric ratchet. So you do not need the electric ratchet, it just makes your life a whole lot easier. So once then just remove this. So once you get it fully loosened, I just kind of put this back in here, so upside down. The fan shroud and the fan, all you have to do is turn it up like vertical like this, and pull them both straight out. And I just put them right over here on the table. The next step that we have to do, I'm doing this so I do not have to remove the radiator hose. Next step is get something, cardboard or something like this, and put it in front of your radiator so you do not damage it. Alright, next step, now that you have cardboard right here, is what you want to do is you want to remove your belt, your serpentine belt. It's a 3/8 drive, so I have a 1/2-inch breaker bar on a 1/2 to 3/8 adapter, and all you will do is, actually it's going to go the wrong way, but twist it. The easiest place to get it off is right here on this pulley. The video is to remove the fan pulley. It's 6 10mm bolts in a hexagon pattern. Next step is to remove the 4 10mm bolts that hold on the fan pulley. On this pulley there are 4 bolts. 3 of them are this size right here, but 1 of them is slightly longer. The best way to remember which one it goes in is this bottom right here, and just screw it in a little bit so you do not lose track of it. The next step is to remove this bolt right here, which is a 17mm, to get this free. This one can be a little bit difficult to get to at certain times, but it is definitely possible with an extension. Step is to remove the crank pulley. There's 4 15mm bolts. Make sure you don't use an impact on them, you will strip them out. And just make sure your truck is in gear or in park, and it may turn in the direction you're loosening a little bit, but it will eventually stop. Once you get that crank pulley, all 4 of those bolts loosened up, they're going to be nice and big, they're going to look like that. You're just going to wiggle it back and forth. You may have to use a pry bar to get it off. Just make sure not to pry against this or anything that you will damage. Alright, the next step is to remove all of the bolts around the timing cover, and so you will get 2 different sizes. You get a long and a short. You do not have to keep track of them because the long ones will only go in the long, and the short ones will not go in the long. So once you get all those bolts loosened up, you should just be able to grab the oil filler tube and pull it back a little bit, and then it will come off. Next, you'll want to scrape off all the old gasket and just kind of generally clean it up. Once you get it cleaned up, you'll take a punch and you'll punch around this edge right here, and it will come out the bottom, this seal. And just take note that this side that has the writing goes out like this. Alright, once you get it out and everything's cleaned up, you want to insert this metal ring flush. It may take a little persuasion with a, in there. That will make sure it goes the correct depth down. Then you do not want to remove this plastic collar. I learned that the hard way. Just leave it in there until you are ready to put the seal in. Make sure that my hands are greasy, so before I put this in, I'm going to wipe it off. Remember, this side down, and then just use a punch to install it so it flush and touches this evenly. So when you're punching it in, just make sure you're very careful, or that will happen. And this is like a $50 part or $40 part, so that's just amazing. So just be extra vigilant that you do not put your punch straight through your seal. So now that you have your new seal installed into your timing cover housing, you just want to double check that you've fully cleaned up all around this. Then you want to clean it up real good with a rag and some brake cleaner, or maybe even just something that'll remove it from anything that will stop the gasket maker from sticking. And then lay a nice bead on the inside of every hole all around it. Or if you have a gasket, just lay that on it. Alright, so now that you have it fully installed and you're about to put your bead on here, I'm just going to show you how you're going to install it. So your ring is going to be on it. This is going to be on the cover. And the ring will slip over this. And then you'll be using the ring attached to it. You'll be able to slip it over the ring onto the shaft. Make sure you wipe that shaft off from any contaminant or anything on that. And double check and wipe all of this to make sure it's clean before you put your gasket on. Now that you have a nice bead, evenly coated, or not evenly coated, but it's a nice bead, and that is clean, you are ready to insert it on. Remember to keep that installation ring on, and take a bolt or two that you know where it goes. Remember, the long bolts will go down and the short bolts will stop like that. See, long bolt, short bolt. You want to put it on and just gently tighten every bolt. The next step is to put on the crank pulley. That's just the 4 15mm bolts. The best way I found to do it is put one bolt through and locate a hole, and then put the opposing bolt and then the rest too, and then tighten them down really tight with your breaker bar. Next step is to install this 17mm bolt right back in here. As you may see, it may not line up. That's just because this got knocked around while handling it. All you have to do is kind of bang it over, screw it in. There we go. Okay, now the next step after that is very tight. Make sure you get that really tight. You want to install the fan pulley, or the fan thing pulley. Remember, this one we put in here because it was longer. I'm going to put that right there, bottom right, and we'll install that. So you install that pulley, or that carrier, or whatever it's called. You want to install the pulley. That's just your 6 smallest bolts in a hex pattern. Now, the next step is to reinstall the belt. If you do not remember how it went in, there's a little diagram right there. Put your belt on. I am going to give you a little hint. That right there, the water pump, is the easiest place to get it on and off. Next step is to get your fan back on. I like to just give a little dab of anti-seize on that bolt. Just helps it easier to get makes it easier to get it off. The way you're gonna have to do it is you're gonna have to put the fan in the fan shroud and slip it in vertical, and then slip it in and turn it horizontal while it goes in there. At this stage, you want to remove the piece of cardboard that has been protecting your radiator and get ready with your 7/16 to screw in the 4 bolts that go here, down there, over there, and down there. Now that you have gotten your fan in here installed, everything installed, and just a fair warning, that getting that fan in and this all moving around at the same time will be difficult by yourself. I'm just going to snug this up. It will tighten itself up. I'm going to snug it up until the belt starts moving. And then you're done. Just give it a few hours to let the gasket maker set up so you don't mess it up. But that is how to do your KDP or your crank seal. Thanks for watching.
Can you swap the bolt?